For my garbage person of the week, I got a real doozy. Take a look at this.
I want to give you a little history on homelessness. 1910, Hitler decided to live on the streets for a while. So for 2 years, Hitler lived on the streets and practiced his oratory and his body language and how to connect with masses, and then went on to lead a life that got him in the history books. So a lot of these people, it's not a dead end. They can come out of these homeless camps and have a productive life, or in Hitler's case, a very unproductive life. I support this bill.
Frank Niceley, would you please get in this? Because I think there's a spot for you. Don't try to save it at the end with he was unproductive. You were just using Hitler as the only example you could come up with in how people who were unhoused as a period in their life could then go on to great things. Terrible, but great. Is that honestly what you're doing? No, that's what he did. And he supports it, the misdemeanor criminalization of homeless encampments on public property. That's what he's speaking out in support of.
Jewel lived in a van. Steve Harvey was homeless for a while. These are the examples I think you really need to gravitate more toward. It's like people who, you can tell people who don't read a lot of books. They're the ones who are always telling you about the book they just read. Like,
yes,
it's just like, all right, just because you listen to like hardcore history or something doesn't mean you need to tell me everything you know about Hitler at any given time.
Exactly. No, and especially in support of this. So after he did that, the state legislature passed the bill he was speaking out on, HB 0978, a vote of 22-10, making, quote, the solicitation or camping along a controlled access highway or entrance or exit ramp a misdemeanor resulting in a fine and community service. It is expected that Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, who's also a Republican, is going to sign it. So it isn't just the quote, which is terrible. It isn't just invoking Hitler that's terrible. It's that it was done in support of increased criminalization of being unhoused. I do want to just be very clear about something. While the attempted history lesson is hardly the most important part of this, it also wasn't true what he described. Despite the senator describing his statement as being a history lesson, Hitler did not choose homelessness for a couple years. He failed to gain admission to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. He used up his savings and he ended up sleeping on park benches and begging for money. And by the way, years before the Holocaust, as sort of a part of this, he lived in a hostel for the homeless in Vienna between 1910 and 1913, where many of his friends were apparently Jews. He described that period as the harshest and saddest time of his life, although it hardly seemed to have produced a little bit more empathy for other people in that condition than Hitler himself was experiencing. And flash forward decades and decades and decades, you got people in positions of political power who have as little empathy, seemingly, as Hitler at that point.
I just also want to add something that is baffling about this story is the law where you're going to fine homeless people. You're going to charge people without money $50.
Exactly. If they had the $50,
you're going to make it more likely that they'll be in this situation again.
Exactly. By the way, Niceley has popped up in the news previously. Back in 2009, he was a part of a group of Tennessee Republicans who tried to force President Barack Obama to turn over his birth certificate. He said in 2017 that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant; it's just as natural as oxygen. And he apparently said very recently, just in October, he's not sure if the South actually lost the war. It's too early to tell, talking about the Civil War. Cool guy. His name is Niceley, not the nicest guy. Anyway, with that said, those are our garbage people of the week. You all voted, 37,000 of you voted. And here are your top 5 community garbage person of the week. Coming in at number 5, or tied 5 and 4 with 15% of the vote, you have Charlie Kirk for blaming trans people for inflation, so some crossover there. Another number 4, 15% of the vote, Uber and Lyft for upping prices after the New York subway shooting, although they did eventually stop that. Number 3 is 16% of the vote is Sean Hannity for attempting to backtrack on his ivermectin lies. Number 2 with 20% of the vote is Mark Meadows for essentially committing voter fraud, as we talked about earlier. But your garbage person of the week with 34% of the vote is Senator Kyrsten Sinema for gleefully promising not to raise corporate taxes. That is some prime quality garbage there. So thank you to all of you who voted. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.